Alright, so we have a Intech Aucta Magnolia trailer that has this cabinet in it, which is meant to hang clothes, although it's pretty narrow for hanging clothes in, and we're just not going to hang clothes in it. So I'm going to put some shelves in here, you know, probably about 12 inches high in each spot, so it'll give you three cubbies basically to, you know, put folded clothes and towels and whatnot in. And the weird thing about this is it's not a square cabinet, right? So it's got this this chase for a vent stack that goes up and out through the ceiling, and so that's sort of a weird shaped thing. And then it's got this nailer strip here so that they could, you know, connect the cabinet wall to the wall of the trailer, probably to an aluminum stud in there. So what I had to do was, well, I went to Home Depot and I bought just this pre-done shelf system for Closetmaid systems. It's basically just a piece of particle board with a white edge already applied to it. And this one was 14 inches by 4 feet. And so I just cut that down to a template that I made that fits inside this cabinet. And so, you know, you can see not really super tight up against the walls, but this piece is just pre-cut and ready to go. And my plan here is to take these aluminum angle, I guess brackets, angle iron, and I just cut them to the lengths that I needed on my miter saw, because aluminum can, you know, be cut just like wood essentially. And then I took this Scotch mount tape, which I had to cut down because it's an inch versus the 3/4 inch aluminum, but you know, I think 30 pounds should be plenty for each shelf. And so my plan is just to take and mount these, you know, in here like that, and then lay the shelves on top, maybe put a little bit of caulking or something on top of that just to adhere the shelves down so they don't slide around at all. And then I might put some screws in, but I mean, anybody who's worked with MDF knows that screws don't, you know, hold very well. So I'm on the fence right now as to whether or not I'm going to put screws in as well as the tape. You know, so I guess that's what I'm going to do next is use my my uniform height gauge that I made out of the remaining piece of that shelf piece, and I'll just set the bracket on top of that, you know, like this, and then I'll just take the tape off the back of it and you know, slide that into place and then press it up against the wall, and that way I'll have the appropriate height on each side, you know, once I've taken the backing off of the tape. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take the backing off of this tape. And then I'm just going to take my piece of MDF shelving that I had left over, and I'm just going to take that right up to the top there, push that against the wall, and you can see, you know, it's going to be a nice square fit. And then I'm going to pull that out, and then I'll go do the next side, and that's actually firmer than I thought it was going to be, so that's pretty good. Well, it's not as firm back there. Back. So that one back there I might have to do some screws. There's this little tiny lip here on this aluminum that's kind of holding it out a little bit. Okay, so there's one in place, and you can see it'll move around a little bit in there. So I will probably move it so that there's a uniform gap, and then just put some caulking in, just to keep it from moving around in there. But I mean, to me, I think it fits pretty well. Probably could have been done a little better, but of course, I used a paper template, and I brought it home and made the shelves separate of the trailer, so I wanted to make them a little bit smaller than the actual opening, so that they were for sure gonna fit. So anyhow, so that's how it's gonna work. I'm gonna do the next set off camera, and then I'll just come in with the camera and show how the space looks when it's complete. Alright, so I decided to go ahead and put in screws just to sort of add belt to suspenders, and those are really firm in there now. I was a little worried because these are overlapping in this corner just at, 32nd of an inch, and they were, it was kind of holding the bracket a little way, and so it was moving a little bit. But I mean, you can see now, with the screw in there, not going anywhere. So those are stainless steel screws as well, so we're not going to have, if there's ever any condensation in here, not going to have to worry about any rust. And I basically used a couple of drill bits. One with the blue tape there is just so I didn't punch through the wall, but just slightly smaller in diameter than my screw. And then I re-drilled the aluminum with the bigger, which was slightly larger than the screw. So basically the screw was just going through the aluminum and then biting into the wood, and it seems to have done the job pretty well. So obviously these cabinets are pretty thin. They're 3/4 of an inch or so. Well, that's much wider on this side because there's a face frame around it, but on this side you can see it's just a 3/4 of an inch piece of MDF or fiberboard or something. So you got to be very careful that you don't punch all the way through, and that's why I put the tape on there to make sure I wasn't driving past the tape. And I just used a 5/8 stainless steel panhead screw, so that pushes up against the aluminum and doesn't go into it like a countersunk head would. That way it's sort of just applying pressure against the aluminum frame and pushing it into the tape, and pulling it into the wall. So I think with that, the only other thing I might do is just put some caulking on the inside of the shelves so that again they don't slide around, and then this will be done. Well, and there you have it. It's finished. I've got two 12.5 inch deep cubbies, and then one that's I think about 14 inches. It's because I wanted to have a little clearance for that rack there at the top. As you can see, I put a little bit of caulking So these will come out at some point if I want to. You know, I can just take a razor knife and cut that caulk, and I put a little bit under too to hold the shelf in place. And that way they won't slide around a lot in transit, and you know, bounce off the brackets and everything that's in here, go, you know, kafloof into the bottom. So anyhow, so now you know, we have a far more usable storage compartment than what was a hanging you know, little closet essentially. And I think oh, and so I just use this kind of caulking. It's an adhesive and sealant as well, and it's got a mold guard. So again, if there's ever any condensation in there, if somebody throws a wet towel in there and leaves it in there for a couple days or something, you know, we're not going to have you know, a mold issue with the caulk, or any rust issues with those screws, since they're stainless steel. And now I guess I can see if the doors close, and make sure that everything goes together as it should, and it does. So I think that's a wrap.